The Matrix Resurrections was directed by Lana Wachowski, and it stars Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Jonathan Groff, and Neil Patrick Harris.
It would be quite an understatement to say that this film is pretty divisive. There are quite a few people that think that this movie is a near masterpiece, and there are others that think that this film is a complete disgrace and it spits on the legacy of the original films. Though my opinions on this film aren't as strong as these viewpoints, I was pretty disappointed with this movie. I didn't hate it, but also at the same time, I wanted it to be a lot better. This film doesn't know if it wants to be a weird meta parody of the Matrix franchise or a continuation of the Matrix franchise. I gotta admit, the first half of this movie really had me confused. The meta tone to it, if you know what I'm talking about, was actually kind of funny at times, though I feel like that it was overused and it came across as self-parody. There's a scene where the characters discuss how Hollywood is so obsessed with making sequels and reboots, and that they will tell the original creator that they will make a sequel or a reboot to their IP with or without them. They even name-dropped Warner Brothers, the studio that made this movie. And because of this scene, I'm fully convinced that this is exactly what went down between WB and Lana Wachowski. For many years, the Wachowskis have expressed disinterest in revisiting the Matrix franchise, especially the Neo Trinity story. And so it was kind of shocking to a lot of people that they would make a Matrix 4. And I feel as if Warner Brothers forced them to do this. That they put Lana Wachowski in a corner and they made her make this movie. And if she didn't cooperate with them, they were going to make a movie on their own. And I'm sorry, studios shouldn't behave like this. I mean, I kind of think that maybe you should just leave The Matrix alone. I mean, the original was just so great. They haven't really been able to recapture that greatness since then. I'm not saying that it's impossible to do, but also at the same time, you can't really strike lightning in a bottle twice.
I mean, the Neo Trinity story was completed in 2003. Yes, this is a deeply flawed conclusion, but it still is a conclusion, if you know what I mean. I kind of wish that this film explored new directions to the Matrix universe. Explored new characters, new stories, and new worlds. I mean, I don't mind bringing back Neo and Trinity. Just, you gotta do it right. You gotta add something new to this franchise. And I feel like that this film didn't really do that. It was great to see Keanu and Carrie-Anne again, and they both did an excellent job in the roles, as always. And the way they brought them back was interesting, but the payoff was just confusing and convoluted, and it left me really, really frustrated. Once we get out of the weird meta parody phase of this movie, we enter The Matrix 4, if you know what I mean, the meat and potatoes of the story, and it just really doesn't justify itself. Its need to exist, if you know what I mean, other than just to make more money on this IP. I hope I'm not steering too off topic here, and I guess this is kind of in a weird spot of the video, but I feel like I should say this. If you loved this movie, if you absolutely adored this movie, more power to you. I really, really wanted to love this movie. I really wanted to even like this movie. It's just, I couldn't. I love the original Matrix with all my heart. And this film just didn't deliver for me. In my review of the original Matrix, I expressed how I didn't like how they recasted Morpheus. In this film, he is played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. And there actually is an in-universe reason to why he's recasted. And surprisingly, I don't hate the decision of recasting Morpheus. Now, since I've seen the movie, it makes sense. He brings a new spin on the character, and obviously he doesn't hold a candle to Lawrence Fishburne, but I commend him for doing something different, for the filmmakers to do something different here. Though I wasn't in love with this decision, surprisingly I didn't hate it. Though Jonathan Groff is terrible as Agent Smith, Hugo Weaving just had this threatening and ominous presence every time he was on screen. He just stole the show every time he was on screen. And just by his presence alone, he was threatening. That wasn't the case with Jonathan Groff. He just didn't have that threatening and menacing presence that Hugo Weaving absolutely nailed. You could see it right here in this rendition of the classic line from the original movie.
Mr. Anderson.
Honestly, I feel they should have just kept Smith dead after the first Matrix for thematic purposes. Though in Reloaded in Revolutions, Hugo Weaving still kills it as Agent Smith. Though towards the end of this movie, without getting into any spoilers, they make a really interesting decision with Agent Smith's character, and then they almost immediately go back on it. This decision really left me frustrated. Like, why did you even go in this direction in the first place when you were just going to go back on it? Another major disappointing factor of this film is the action sequences. There was a severe lack of hand-to-hand scenes, hand-to-hand combat scenes. When there's hand-to-hand combat scenes, it's amazing, and Keanu absolutely kills it in this department. He does his own stunts as always, and it's amazing every single time. Though unfortunately, a lot of the times, the action scenes are just Keanu waving his hands around, and a bunch of CGI noise happens. I mean, these scenes aren't terrible. The action in this movie actually isn't all that terrible. It's just so painfully mediocre for a Matrix movie. The Matrix Resurrections was pretty disappointing for me. It might even be the most disappointing movie to come out this year. Easily not the worst. There have been some real stinkers that came out this year. But this film is completely watchable if you just turn your brain off and not think about what you're watching. The original Matrix films, even the sequels, you can tell that they were made with passion and love, that these were the movies that the directors wanted to make. With this film, it just feels like a corporate product. It feels like something that was made just to appease the masses and to make a bunch of money on the Matrix IP. And that's just so unfortunate, because say what you want to say about the sequels. The Wachowskis made the movies they wanted to make. I'm not fully convinced that that this was the movie Lana Wachowski wanted to make. Unfortunately, The Matrix Resurrections gets a C-. Even though I really didn't care for this movie, this channel will continue to be a stand channel for Saint Keanu of Reeves. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my review of The Matrix Resurrections. And if you did, make sure to give this video a like. And if you want more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell notification so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And shout out to Duff's Wings and Anya Taylor-Joy. Thanks for watching.